It's important, so we've done that. The new JPEG XR format, really the payback there is it's got higher compression ratios. So you can choose to use that one of two ways. You can have smaller JPEG files with the same quality, or you can have equal-sized JPEG files with higher quality. And it's just great. And there's also a lossless compression option for folks, these days starting to exchange original high-resolution photography. It's an option here versus TIFF or RAW. We do support TIFF, though, also, which is, again, a popular thing for exchanging lossless images. Well, vector graphics. The biggest investment we've made in all of IE9 is around SVG. And if you haven't written it in the past, that's about almost the simplest SVG I could come up with. I guess one rectangle might have been simpler than two, but just to see fill red, fill blue, I thought we could do that. And, if you're all familiar with HTML, you can read that, and we all remember rectangles and circles and polygons, so it's pretty easy to read the graphical parts if you've never seen them before. The X and Y position, the width and height of the rectangles. Well, like John showed what is in and what is not in, with regard to SVG, we have a lot of stuff in today's platform preview build and more coming in the future. Again, the full green arrows mean if you know those chapters of the SVG spec, we're going to fully implement those, and that's the big green arrow. And on today, a lot of stuff works, but not always. Scripting, for example, we don't have all the DOM of SVG there, though some of it, a lot of it. Painting, filling, again, if you go into those parts of the spec, you'll learn things we don't do today, but of course we do basic color and RGBA color and everything. Transforms is pretty complete. We don't do view box at the moment. Text, if you're playing with SVG, especially wild files in the wild on the web, you might often find the text doesn't show up, or a lot of the text doesn't show up. And that's because we didn't do the T-span element in Platform Preview 1. Now, of course, we're going to do that. It's just not there. You can look at a lot of stuff, and you go, where'd the text go? And well, if you dig into it, it's inside of a T-span element, which is like the HTML span element. It's under it. It's in the text overall element, which we do. Paths we do, basic shapes, and all that stuff's all done. So, while media integration, we talked about that. I'm just going to go show that here. Again, it's fun to have it. Let's go do some demos. So I'm going to go over here. Well, we've seen the alpha and opacity, so we'll look at it, and then we'll get out of it. I made that one day just, there's that Windows Vista, Windows 7 weather widget, and I thought, boy, can I make something that looks the same, and I could. There's our border radius demo, which, it was always kind of fun. Dean loves doing this, and I do too, just animating the radius with the dots. I can't believe how long our engineers spent trying to get the dots equally shaped along the radius corners, and he had way too much fun with his high school geometry, I think, figuring all that out. But it's pretty cool when it's all done. Color profiles. I said you really have to see them to understand it. So what this is an image. It's off the International Color Consortium website. It's 4 little images that each use a different color profile. And you go, well, okay, that looks neat, except for the 4 lines. And I guess it should. In a browser that supports the stuff, it should look that way. And then there's 2 other pictures of what it might look like if your browser didn't do it. And it's an example of, I mentioned, Mac, Safari does a great job. We have, kind of different support going on Windows. You look at Firefox here. Okay, so we got one corner that looks funny, and go to the key. Okay, so the browser supports version 2 only, not version 4 yet. Okay, so that's the situation. And Chrome is not sort of all the way there yet either, where their picture is, okay, it's got 2 funny corners, and the key down here, they just don't do color profiles at all. So again, as so much photography is getting onto the web, and good photography. I mean, digital cameras are like, well, I've heard they're pretty good these days, and it's just amazing. So we're going to see more of this, whether you're doing it with Photoshop or taking it straight out of your camera. Your image may have a color profile, so we think it's important to honor that. Let's shut these down in platform preview. Okay. You know, without the address bar and stuff, they all look really similar. Okay, I want to get into, I'm not going to do introducing SVG. That's Clippy, and I'm going to skip Clippy. I'd rather look at charts. You know, charts are fun things. These are really easy to create, either server side if you've got the data. Again, you just generate the SVG markup, or you can even do it client side, do a JSON request, and generating the objects in the SVG DOM is not very hard either. Especially like charts like this. This is actually off of the Wikipedia site where they're talking about spider charts and radar charts. And oh, I should use this other mouse here because that's got a wheel on it, and you can kind of scroll in. And you know, I did this on all the SVG demos because the S stands for scalable, and it's nice to go in there and see the quality of the text stay good. And of course pan around and see it. So something we thought was good there. Dean showed the org chart here, the United Nations earlier, we put together. And again, the part of the point is being able to scroll in or zoom in, scroll around, or maybe you're using browser zoom. We were talking about this earlier. You know, a lot of machines now, especially laptops, come with higher resolution screens, and Windows automatically puts you in 125% zoom, which is what I just shifted here. And again, if you're using SVG, you've got no image quality loss, unlike a bitmap when it's slightly zoomed up. It may get a little, or well, kind of like this button in the top, just a little bit fuzzy in that case. But again, this is just an org chart sitting in a page. Or sitting in a sort of a very simple harness. What might it look like in a real page? This is a screenshot of an actual real page on the web, the U.S. Department of Energy, and they happen to put an org chart on their website. And this is an example of where browser zoom, I can't get that org chart to look any clearer. I can't read the text much better, or really any better than I could when it was zoomed down. Yet, if we take a look at that same chart with SVG in it, or similar chart, and I zoom in, of course, the quality of the chart gets better as I would expect as I'm zooming in. So I do that. And of course, just for fun, you could zoom around here. And how you might really design an SVG element within a site, I think we have things to work out yet, and user interface things. Should these have separate scroll bars and zooming controls, or should I have a button to take the SVG chart large and do it there? So I think there are a lot of things to work out, but we got the capability now to talk about it, and the quality will be great. Though I actually see this little printer-friendly button. It's not implemented, but one of the neatest features, I think, especially about SVG like this, is when you print it, it's at the full resolution of the printer. You can actually read the org chart when it's printed, not, oh, wait a minute, that looks like a bitmap blown up, which of course it is if you printed the original site that was here. So the scalability feature of SVG, huge, in addition to the dancing nebulas and all the other stuff we showed. My work with Visio, one of the hardest things we did in Visio is when we started working in the engineering segments and the technical documentation markets, and you had to start dealing with output from CAD, because CAD output is big, and it's great that SVG can handle it. Now, if you play with this in the platform preview, you may go,